Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, along with, as usual, Pat Duffy. What's up? What are you wearing?
Well, it's Summer League basketball time, man. Latrell Sprewell. I mean, the only guy whose unfortunate incident with PJ Carlesimo will overshadow what an actual good basketball player he was. The guy can play. Nobody remembers, right? It's all about the choke, but I digress.
I'd like to thank Carl Falk for sitting in last week, and this week sitting in for Tariq Spence. We have the great Greg Keagle, our 3-year Major League veteran from the late 90s of the Detroit Tigers out of Horseheads, the pitching coach at RIT.
Yep.
What's new, my friend?
Nothing. We are enjoying this nice weather and just excited to be back. Appreciate it.
It's sort of proof that we're sort of back to normal now. We're back to the studio and bring back some of the guys that we've really missed over the past couple of years.
Well, I always like coming here, and you guys are great to talk sports with. And the great part, I appreciate the moniker of great. I might be Pat's gonna
You made the majors, man. You can't apologize to nobody.
No, that's true. That's a good point. That's you sound like my mother now. That's what she says. Stop apologizing.
Well, look, we wanted to because I don't think I'd ever asked you. I did a deep dive on your career. So looked at some of the numbers. The number of ball players you hit with pitches and all the rest of that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Have you got like a standout? Is there something that happened that said, I did this?
Well, I got two stories, because I got a minor league story that sort of, I'd say, kind of put me on the map, and then in a major league story, it just happened a little differently. So in the minor leagues, we had an incident at the plate. Someone got hit. It was a rough play. My catcher was a gentleman from Louisiana, and all I heard was, he's asking, "Where's Keagle at? Where's Keagle?" In his deep Louisiana voice, he says, "I want you to hit this next guy dead in the head." Dead in the head, he says. And of course, coming from college ball, you couldn't do that, right? You throw at somebody, you get thrown out of the game. I'm thinking, this is old school baseball. I better protect my teammates. So certainly next pitch was low, but I hit the guy in the back and the benches cleared. I got thrown out of the game. My nerves were on my career. Did I do something wrong? My coach reacted great. He was, I was the hero of the team, right? I defended my team. So that gave me, confidence to know that my attitude towards team first, let's play together, let's do everything together. That's what they're looking for. I got to the big leagues. We had a situation in Kansas City. I threw a pitch to Joe Vitiello, a 2-0 pitch, and he hit it up into the waterfalls. And the next pitch, I ended up hitting the next guy. I didn't do it on purpose, but we ended up having an entire breakdown on when and where you're supposed to hit a guy in the big leagues. So my introduction to defending your teammates in one section and then, defending my own turf on another was a completely different scenario.
But your stats would have told your management. It says, "Hey, look, it's totally accidental. Have you seen how many guys I walk?"
That's right. Oh, they knew that control was the issue. Let's put it that way. Obviously, when you're in the big leagues, they expect you to be able to throw strikes. I remember throwing a pitch to Carlos Baerga. I had faced Cleveland, earlier in spring training. I gave up 7 runs on, literally faced 7 guys. I think I threw 11 pitches. The last pitch was a 3-run home run to Baerga. So I'm facing him in Cleveland. We're in the season, and I throw a 1-0 pitch, and I throw it behind him, and it bounces, and he looks out, mumbles something in Spanish. I'm sure it was some pleasantry that I couldn't decipher. But the next pitch, for me, my changeup was the pitch I had confidence in. It was a pitch I knew I could throw down the middle, even in the big leagues, and I had a chance to get it out with. So I threw a 2-0 changeup on the black, and if you're going to throw a 2-0 changeup on the black, they pretty much feel like the fastball might have been on purpose, even though, to your point, it was not on purpose. I had at times lost a little command in my early years.
I hadn't intended for this segment to kind of go this way, but this is such interesting stuff. You got something you want to ask about?
No, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I would start with my baseball stories, but I want to show you up with all the things that I was able to do athletically when I was a kid. No, I mean, it's amazing. I do find it interesting, that transition from A to AA to AAA to Major League Baseball, right? Like in a matter of 3 years, you're playing with guys that are going to disappear to guys that you were watching growing up, right? Like there had to be that moment where it's like, whoa, oh my God, I'm standing in front of this person here.
That's 100%. And that was probably the toughest, and they say it is the toughest jump to make, right? It's from AAA to the big leagues, because you're now playing in front of your idols. You're playing in front of guys you've watched on TV. So yeah, I remember, for me, the kind of aha moment that I made it to the big leagues took me 3 years. I remember pitching against Oakland. I was throwing a pretty good game. And literally, like I said, it was my 3rd year, 98. And I remember walking around and I realized, I was in the big leagues, and I was a big leaguer to that point. So it took me a long time.
That got into the batter's box and said, like, oh my God, I'm facing, who was the guy?
Oh, for me, when I would say it was probably Albert Bell. He was just mean. He swung an angry bat. He had bad intentions. He was having, at that point it was the, pinnacle of his career. Cleveland, as I said, they were our Cross Lake rival. So not only do you have an angry man that is literally, one false look away from charging at you.
You pitch him tight? Did you come inside?
I will say, I never changed the way I pitched just because who was in there. If I had to go in, I went in. There's no doubt. That's, I wouldn't have gotten to the big leagues if I didn't pitch that way.
Stories from the great Greg Keagle. 3 years with the Detroit Tigers in the 90s. This is the Rochester Press Box. We're talking Buffalo Bills next.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko, Pat Duffy, Greg Keagle. Buffalo Bills, I said a month ago, and everybody knew this, the primary thing, get the quarterback signed.
Yeah, quarterback signed. Quarterback is signed, and oh my God, is he signed, right? What is it, $258 million, record-setting $150 million in guarantees. And here's the thing, man. The Bills were geniuses to spend that money now instead of 3 or 4 years from now. The deal with the broadcast rights is going to kick in a couple of seasons, and there is going to be a point, believe it or not, $258 million is going to look like a bargain for Josh Allen with these quarterback deals that are coming down the road. Look, you're looking potentially, depending on the season Lamar Jackson has, that even before that money kicks in, he ends up making more than Josh Allen does. Look, you cannot fault the moves that Brandon Beane, the general manager, has been making. It's been a masterstroke what he's been able to do. Yeah. Tre'Davious White signed before he hits free agency. Deion Dawkins signed before he hits free agency. Matt Milano signed before he hits free agency. You're holding on to all of your draft picks that make a difference on this team. And you still have a 2-year window in which that money that Josh Allen is getting paid isn't going to hamstring you in free agency and bringing the guys you want back. It's been 25 years of wondering what the heck's going on. I don't even know how to deal with myself with how well things are going front office-wise.
Really, there's no substitute for a good front office in any sport, is there?
No, there's no substitute to just good team camaraderie and what you build, and that starts from the ownership. What Terry and Kim have brought to Buffalo has been fantastic, and I think that this deal with Josh, brings us back to the old days of Jim Kelly. You're excited to go watch the Bills play for sure.
How do big contracts sit in the locker room? Other guy gets all the money. What is the feeling?
It does depend on the player for sure, and there you can tell it is a unanimous sense of excitement for the Bills in the fact that Josh got paid. Number one, they love this guy, right? Because of not just what he brings on the field, but obviously he brings something off the field. They all seem to like him. He has some natural leadership qualities. Let's face it, he is a great player. And I like the way he said it. They're not paying me for what I've done. They're paying me for what I'm going to do. And when you're in a locker room, that's somebody you want to get behind. So they don't worry about the money.
I just remember on draft day and then thinking about how everything fell into place last year in a 13-3 season. How lucky was it that Buffalo got, of all of those guys, this guy?
It is completely insane, and it's interesting you bring that up because you look at the situations the other quarterbacks are in. Lamar Jackson's been successful, but Harbaugh knows what he's doing out there in Baltimore. Mayfield struggled, and it looks like they're taking stuff away from him to make the team more successful. Josh Rosen, where the heck did he go? And then Darnold, that situation. I do wonder, Josh Allen is a remarkable physical specimen, but you take 2 or 3 of those other guys and put them on that roster in Buffalo with what Beane's been able to do to build around him. Are they more successful than they are in those other places? Does Sam Darnold have a chance to succeed in Buffalo? Is Baker Mayfield a better quarterback? I love Josh Allen. But the front office work and the coaching job to bring him along has been so good. I do think it's fair to ask the question, how much could this team do with the other quarterbacks if that's how it would have fallen?
Boy, has it worked out well. Looking so forward to this season. This is the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, it's next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
All of these things show Josh Allen has a strive for greatness inside of him.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. This segment of the Press Box, like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Attorneys with experience dealing with the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today. Greg, like it or not, the impact of the Major League Baseball season by the trade deadline and sort of the reshuffling of the deck.
This year was a lot more movement than what we've seen in the past. So I feel as though there certainly are a lot of changes and a much different look in some clubhouses. I like it. I think that in baseball, there's always movement. I think that, when you solidify teams, it just makes the race more exciting. To me, I think baseball's in a great place. I think that the playoff race and the wild card race is exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
So you got the Red Sox and the Yankees. As the Yankees do something, the Red Sox essentially don't. Is there a hangover element of that hits the rest of the team that goes flat? Because, you hear that this happens. Indeed, they didn't do anything. They don't believe in us. Is that real?
You can look at it two ways. I don't know if it's always that they don't believe in us, because if the message is delivered right, it's, look, we believe in you more. We're not going to make any changes because we think we have a championship ball club already. So why do we need to make any changes? But that falls flat. These guys have played long enough. They know it, right? They're superstar athletes for a reason. And now with social media and the changes, people know each other. There's no more, the days of you play for one city for however many years in baseball anyways, you don't see that ever. It's too bad, but you really don't see a hometown hero. The Derek Jeters of the world are going away, and mostly because free agency is so attractive.
Yeah, do you think that's some of the dynamics happening? You look at the Blue Jays and the Yankees made a lot of moves, and they're charging. The Red Sox don't do much, and they're falling off a cliff. And the Mets similarly.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think there's also that false flag of that injection early, right? Like you saw what the Yankees have done with the trades that they've made. Okay, it was pretty impressive for 2 weeks, week and a half. Let's talk in 3 weeks from now when the pennant race really starts to heat up, right? Like, all right, if it's legitimate, great move. But how many times have we seen these teams make moves at the deadline? They look great for 2 or 3 weeks, then all of a sudden, all the teams in their division figure it out and they fall on their face.
It didn't help that Rizzo wound up with a COVID unvaccinated player.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And by the way, even if he didn't, it's possible. He's going to come back down to earth. He's not going to hit like that for the rest of the season. What are you, nuts?
Let me ask, like it or not, point of emphasis, the NFL is cracking down, they say, on taunting.
Yeah, no, let's take everything we can that's entertaining and get it out of the game as quickly as possible, right? Like, why would you not? Like one play sticks out to me from last season. It was Josh Allen. It was a running touchdown he had. I believe it was against the Chargers, and he spun the ball, as they said, in the direction of the defensive back, and he picked up a 15-yard penalty. Whatever. 15 yards is no big deal, especially for a Bills team in particular that can throw. Here's the problem. The personal foul penalties, there's a new rule in the NFL that's been there for a couple of years. 2 personal foul penalties, you're ejected, and these rules are open to interpretation by the referees. So if you have a legitimate personal foul penalty and then a interpreted wrong penalty like this, you could be ejecting legitimate players from games that matter. Every game of the NFL season matters. Why they would leave interpretation rules that could affect the game that much up to guys that are lawyers full-time and part-time referees, I do not understand.
That and the character of the game. You look at all the stuff that goes into the physicality of a football game. The blocking, the holding, the biting, the bottom of these fumble piles. To your point, spinning a football seems like a terribly nothing thing to get involved about.
Yes, but they've changed the game so much. They've taken away so much of the hitting portion of the game. That as physical as this game is, they're doing everything they can to favor the offenses, right? They do what they can to not allow guys, before you used to be a warrior if you went across the middle to catch the football. You might not spin the ball in front of a cornerback if you knew you had to, get get socked on a next play. But now without that, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like that they've taken away, because again, you're taking away personality.
But it's never going to be a gentleman's game. I mean, they're trying to maybe make it something
away
it's not.
personality.
And it never was a gentleman's game. Like, you go back, let's talk about how it used to be. Go look at Chuck Bednarik standing over a dead Frank Gifford with his arm crossed over his
You
chest.
are going back.
That's what I do, Bill.
That's right.
This is the Rochester Press Box, like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business. Next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Time for Unfinished Business. Pat, start us off.
Are you ready for some preseason football? And if you are, looking at the schedule, maybe you notice something. There are a lot of afternoon preseason weekend football games this year. In fact, I believe 2 out of the 3 Bills ones are 1 o'clock kickoffs. And I saw that and figured out why they did it. There's a 1 o'clock and a 4 o'clock and a 7 o'clock. And that's so NFL Network can air live preseason triple-header games on Saturdays and Sundays in the offseason. And I thought to myself, well, that's really stupid. Who's going to sit and watch 3 straight preseason games? Until I started looking at the schedule for this upcoming weekend. And I realized, well, I want to see what Tua Tagovailoa looks like after the offseason. And then, well, there's a rookie here I want to see. And I realized that I'm going to be spending my Saturday and Sunday watching probably 12 hours of football that doesn't matter to anybody else. Well, I explained to my wife why that 7th round pick or undrafted rookie free agent she's never heard of is a great backstory because, well, his dad did. It's stupid. I know it's stupid. And I hate myself for wanting to do it, but it's been so long since we've had real, legitimate football with people in the stands, by the way, which you're going to see when preseason football starts. Then I'm going to be watching potentially 24 hours of preseason football this coming Saturday and Sunday. So I guess I'll see you guys come March of next year.
Well, for me, I'm going to go back to an old standard. As you see these contracts that are coming across with Major League Baseball and the trade deadlines, and you're seeing what Josh Allen gets and some of these free agents in football, you realize that money is an enormous part of the sport. However, to me, the sport is still the most beautiful part of the sport is when kids play it for the joy of playing sports. So, Pat's going to be at as many of the games inside watching preseason football. I'll tell you, go outside, see some baseball games, go see a 12U baseball game. If you watch 12-year-olds play baseball for the joy of it, some of the things that these kids can do, it's amazing. I can't believe the execution and some of the things that I've seen this summer myself. It was one of the greatest summers of baseball I've had, and I was fortunate enough to play with some of the greatest players that have ever played. So do yourself a favor, get out, grab a ball, or grab a blanket, go out and see a ball game with your family. You will thank me later.
Daniel Brito is a 23-year-old infielder from the Philadelphia Phillies farm system. The last time we saw Daniel was at Frontier Field, collapsing into the arms of Rochester Red Wings manager Matt LaCroix. Brito was playing third base for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs at Frontier Field on July 31st when he suffered a seizure of some sort. He was on the ground for the better part of a half hour while medical care was administered. An ambulance arrived and Brito was brought to Strong Hospital, underwent multiple surgeries. To the best of our knowledge, he is still there. Well, 2 EMTs, emergency medical technicians from Monroe Ambulance stationed at the ballpark, administered initial care. I was told it was not a stretch to say that Brito's life was saved on the field that day. The EMTs went about their business without any obvious concern, no panic, in front of some 1,000 baseball fans on hand that afternoon. Now, working in front of an audience that large is unusual, to say the least. Not only that, they perform anonymously. I wanted their names to give them credit here. I knew that I wouldn't get them. It is a reminder of how we take these people for granted. The first responders, thank you for your service. It's almost trite. It's a knee-jerk reaction like when we say the same thing for our military personnel without really giving it any thought. We should think about it. To those 2 young people on the field saving Daniel Brito's life that day, thank you for always being there. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our program. Greg, great to see you again. Thanks for coming in. We'll do it again.
Always a pleasure.
And Pat?
Oh, you guys are so lucky to have me.
Yes, I managed to put everything in a nutshell.
There you go. There you go.
Very few words. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. The Rochester Press Box.